Hi. So, I have kind of stayed overnight, working last day until this morning, and then slept a little, and then now I'm kind of my inhibitions are a little down, so that I'm making this video. I don't know if I'm going to post this, but the thing is, I'm thinking as I'm hooping, I'm training to be a hoop yogini, to be instructing it, and the more I am practicing, I've come to this thought earlier, and now it's reiterated by this holistic practice of the hoop yogini, and that your perspective, that it's really all about you, that your perspective shapes the world you live in. And transposing this idea over the idea of a loving God, of God-loving world versus a God-fearing world. If I'm living my life, my perspectives on life is coming from fear and guilt and all of those things, then I have more reason to be living in a God-fearing world, because I am filled with different kinds of guilt. My conscience is not clean, and hence I cannot stand in front of my own mirror, let alone a more clear conscience. That may, I mean, if I can't face my own mirror, then anybody else doesn't matter after that. Like anybody else is secondary to that. So I'm thinking God is within me, and to the extent that I'm not in sync with the universe, with the world, with people, with different groups, with my families, with my neighbors, to that extent the God is outside. And when the more a clear conscience I have, the more in innocence I am, the more I have nothing to fear about. To that extent, there is a God in me, and to that extent, I'm not in variance with what is good, what is pure, what is healthy, and to that extent, there is God in me. And to what extent God is outside me is to the extent that I'm not in connection with say a group, or with the country, or with the universe, or with nature. To the extent that I'm not in connection with any of these factors, God is outside. And when I'm in sync with all of them, God is inside me. So, and the universe is more in sync with that clear conscience that I am. That lack of guilt, to that, and when I'm living life from there, I can face the mirror, look into my eyes, and have no fear, have no reason to look away or feel guilt, because if I do, then the guilt is inside me. The mirror is only reflecting the truth of it. And if I can't meet me in my own eye, then anybody else other than that is secondary. So this is also kind of recording also to spiritual enthusiasts, as to, when there are many religious people, many spiritual enthusiasts who are looking for a higher realm, a way of living by which they are more in sync with the divine. And I think a mirror is a good supporter in that if you can't face yourself, to that extent there is guilt, and there is, well, the devil, so to speak. And to that extent, you're not in sync with what is clean and pure and innocent. So if you don't have God within you, you don't have anything by which to connect with, say, a God outside you. And so when you're praying and there is all of guilt and all of that inside you, when you're praying, you're like the devil praying to the God. And when you can face yourself in the mirror, and when there is more clarity within you, then it's the God praying to God. So it's like a God praying to a higher form, and thereby you're coming more cleaner, you're getting more wholesomer, and hence you come to be living in a God loving world versus a God fearing world. If it's a devil within you, there is so much of guilt within you, then to that extent you have not come to a God loving world. You are still in a God fearing world because of the guilt within you, because of which you need to fear a God outside, and you need to do things so that you're not having to face punishment, because you could only face punishment if there is no innocence. There's guilt inside you. So guilt versus innocence is a good measure by which to see how well are you practicing being in a God loving world. And if you're God fearing, to that extent you're fearing punishment because there's so much of guilt inside you. And if you can face the mirror, then to that extent you can face the God within you. I know I'm repeating myself, but I think there's some point in just reiterating these highlights of this. So this is more an esoteric kind of a talk, but then it makes more sense in terms of what it requires for a person, ourselves, to kind of retrospect and look on where we are in relationship with what is good and true and clear conscience. And then when I have a clear conscience, I have more ground from which to pray and ask for something and expect to receive, because I am standing in a clear conscience, and then saying, I have tried what I have tried, I've tried my best, and now I would need some support and help. And so there will be more ground from which to ask, rather than, okay, I've not done my work and then I'm asking, so I already know that I've not done my work, and then there is no ground in which to receive. Yeah. So, and that could also be one of the reasons why some people's prayers get answered and some people's prayers don't get answered, because right from my childhood, I've been told that, you're 50 and God is 50. You do your 50% of the work, God does the rest of 50%. So if you haven't done your own 50%, expecting God to do the 50%, that does not make sense. At least I've been living life like this, and it has made a lot of sense. So when I'm asking something and I know that I have not done my part, then asking doesn't make sense. And that helps me to do the right thing. So the 50-50 works nice. So I hope this makes sense to you. Thank you for listening.